Alright guys, so you're asking about the Q90A at the bottom and the Samsung QN85A at the top. And you guys wanted to see it with game mode, so what we're going to do is show you some game mode stuff. Alright, so you guys see we are actually in game mode. I'm going to go into General, then I'm going to go into External Device Manager, Game Mode Settings, and they're basically the same as last year. Nothing special at all. And Game Motion Plus, all of it still exactly the same. The only new thing that they did this year is on your remote. You can't see it, so I'm going to have to hit my flash. Give me a second here. The only new thing is on the remote, I have to kill autofocus lock. Okay, is when you look at the remote, if you press and hold the play button here, it brings up this new game bar. And this game bar is very novel in my opinion. I think it's kind of pointless because if you look at it, to the left hand side you'll have a bunch of information you can't change. It'll tell you your input lag, basically if you're in game mode or not, the refresh rate of the TV, which is always fixed at 60 FPS unless you kick it into 120 FPS, if you're using HDR or not, if you're using DRR or not, and the speakers that you're using. You can't go in and do anything else with that. Okay, so then you go into the right side. You can change aspect ratio, the screen position, and then the general game mode settings and some troubleshooting options. It's pretty bare bone, and the game mode options literally just takes you right back to this game hub thing. They're the game settings. So yeah, not a whole lot there. Now, as far as performance, it's pretty underwhelming. My camera's juicing everything up, but essentially, when I look at the top and I look at the bottom, and I look at both of these TVs, I got my thing timing out here. All right, so now I've got it back from being timed out, but essentially when you look at the top and you look at the bottom, it's kind of annoying because game mode starts acting differently. So the QN90A starts seeing better performance as far as colors in game mode than in the regular mode, which is stupid because it's something to do with the way they program the television. Doesn't mean that these are, so to speak, gaming TVs though, because you will still run into occasional blooming and things like that. I don't know how well it'll show off. I really don't know if it'll show off well at all. But what I'll do is I'll try to go over into some screenshots here and try to show you guys when I skip screenshots and it gets dark. I don't know if it's going to get dark. There you go. You can see it has a good amount of blooming at the bottom there. Now it's not quite that bad. If I go and I lower it down a little bit to about where I see it, it would be somewhere in the ballpark around right about, it's hard to do this by eye, kind of about there. There's a glow around objects. It's still not quite that bad, but you don't really defeat blooming entirely on this TV. Now the reason this is a big deal is because they're advertising that this is mini LED and it's supposedly different from what we had before, but it's not. So if you're somebody in the ballpark of, $2,000 and you're looking at this or you're looking at an OLED, it'll be pretty easy for you to kind of mistake this as an OLED replacement. OLED though isn't perfect and it does have the risk of burn-in, so that's where you might want to look at something like this. Though if you see, I do have bright corners here, so uniformity is still dodgy in game mode. This is a known Samsung issue and they haven't fixed it. Now, I've dialed in this TV as best as I possibly could, but you can't defeat every inconsistency that the TV does have. Now, also, what I'm noticing is that the QN85 at the top is a bit brighter. I'm sure I can always lower it down, but it's not quite as accurate in game mode as the QN90A. So that's, I guess, one of the big differences that you can notice there. In a nutshell, I think it's going to be one of those things where either way you go, these aren't like the most competent gaming TVs, and if you're in the market, like seriously looking for a TV, you'd probably be better off just buying what we have right now, because looking at the options, it's not great. I'm not going to say that it's a bad TV, but it's not anything new or original, and that game bar isn't enough to justify the purchase. And I'm pretty sure the variable refresh rate again is going to be more of the same of what we saw back even in 2018 with the Q8FN Q9FN, that kind of thing. So that's pretty much gaming on this TV. It's not anything fantastic. So then I'll break into actual gameplay and show you what it looks like and kind of talk about the responsiveness. Alright, so when you're in game, it's responsive enough, but it's not like anything I haven't seen before. I mean, it feels a lot like the QLEDs we already have on the market. Now, I prefer the Samsung QN85 overall as a television. I just feel like it's a stronger TV overall. But that's not to say that the QN90 is total trash and you should just never buy it. It is better than the Q90T, as I was saying earlier. I just feel that they've kind of cheesed it a little bit. And just looking at the differences between the two, again, it's responsive. I think you'll enjoy this game mode. I think it's good enough for most people. It's pretty smooth. It's pretty fluid. You won't have any real issues. But I think the problem is going to come into when you're trying to really weigh up the value for the dollar. I mean, these are honestly over OLED pricing, and right now it's not worth it. I'd say wait for the sale date for both of these TVs, because then you'll probably get a more fair deal for what these things are actually worth. But right now, it's just not worth what they're asking for. So hopefully this little demonstration, it's not great. I'm trying to do this with one hand and play. As you see, I'm getting absolutely owned. But at least you can kind of get an idea for the responsiveness. I mean, everything is snappy enough. I'll kind of run around so you guys can see. I mean, it's doing everything it needs to do. You won't have any real problems with it. But the problem here is obviously it's not well above what we would expect, right? I find that, honestly speaking, what we had on the market before was better, I feel. Like with TVs like the Q8FN and stuff like that, I feel like that was much, much better. So in a nutshell, buy whatever makes you happy, but essentially the Samsung QN85A is going to be my kind of choice here. I think overall it is the better performer overall, but for gaming it is slightly better on the QN90A. But again, when you're talking about gaming, I mean, this is really almost a direct copy and paste of what we had last year. So unfortunately, there's nothing new and crazy to report. And I just kind of wanted to be one of the first people to kind of tell you the truth about that. So I really hope this helps you guys out. Thanks for watching. And until the next video, see you guys later.